The golden question that's going on right now is obviously what the hell should you be locking in and summoning for your minigame right now in Godforge Quest? It's a really good question because, to be honest, there is a ton of choices. And what the Godforge team did, especially Simon and all of the guys that was able to prepare this, was able to provide a video yesterday to finish off giving you as much information as possible of the heroes that you can potentially be picking and seeing what their kits are gonna do. And the team did one step further, one step better, and they did provide all 11 of these cards, as you're gonna see, to us content creators. So we've got the whole high definition images for you guys, and I'm gonna go through each individual one of them, and I'm going to go one step beyond as well for all of the new players, all the beginners that's going to be looking at all the red and blue and purple / pink text and wondering, what the hell are these texts? What the hell does this mean? What is this buff? What is this debuff? Because obviously there is a really good kind of source right now that you should check out yourselves, which is Raven Pyrus Gaming's website. His website is really good, and he is looking out for applicants for his app, which I also have, which is really freaking good too to use. And basically this is all the buffs in the game and debuffs that basically we're going to be discussing today. So no matter what, if you're new, if you're inexperienced, you're going to know exactly what the hell that ability reads. So with that, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. Let's dive into the fun stuff. Let me give you my whole kind of jazz on this, because obviously with the Godforge mini quest, you're going to be able to summon, as many people know, a brand new hero. Basically, you get 20 spins, I think, every single day, and then you get 60 spins if you are a premium member, which just gives you 40 additional spins and the ability to kind of lock in these weapons and kind of save them instead of using these choose options and kind of using your slot basically on them, right? And it's a good question because there is, honestly, before anyone says anything in this video, good DPS, good invokers, good defenders, and even good disruptors that you can honestly use in your team, and you'll be actually surprised if you think about the actual formation and the team composition and how everything's going to work. I'll be honest, most of these heroes that we're going to showcase today can do some sort of work, right? So with that, let's get into the very first one, which is going to be Anu. Anu, the very first hero, the legendary defender for the Ica, I believe, faction they named from Order. And this is a really good kind of hero to start off with. He is a leader bonus for 30% defense in dungeon battles. So if you have him equipped in obviously your leader spot 1, you get this extra 30% defense on all of your team, right? But it's only in dungeon battles. This is okay, I'll be honest. It's probably going to be quite high compared to the all battle defenses that most people are going to be trying to look for, just to have that bonus on everywhere at the early game. But 30% is going to obviously mean something later on in the day, right? The hero skills, though, this is where everyone is going to be probably frothing out of the mouth. But I'm going to give you some actual harsh reality checks too with this hero, which is Astral Burst, the basic ability, attack one enemy, 200% defense, 100% attack for the scaling of the damage. But you place Vanish on the ally with the lowest current HP for 1 turn. And when we go into obviously these, if you're wondering what Vanish does, it says you cannot be directly targeted. Obviously, this seems really, really good at first, especially when you're obviously trying to protect that ally, right? So the whole purpose of this ability is to protect the lowest HP guy from ever being targeted, so then they don't die, so your hero can heal them and obviously save the day. The issue is, though, Vanish is not protected by AoE attacks, and what you'll notice even in most of the teams, and especially up in the content, and even against PvP areas, people will be using AoE. So if you're using area of effect damage, Vanish honestly isn't gonna be doing too much for you. And Obviously, it's going to be nice in certain areas, and yet you will get some value out of it, but I don't think you can get as much value as you expect it to be because of just how the game works at the moment, right? So the next one is his core ability, the Grace of Heavens. You place defense up 2 on all allies, and then you also put protect 2 on all allies except this hero. And this honestly is probably where I actually really do like this hero. So when we go up to the protect buff here, you can see right on the top right hand side, an ally who places this buff takes 15% of the damage this unit would receive instead. So what this is basically saying is Anu is going to receive 15% of all the damage of everyone on his team, but obviously this being a protection 2, he is taking now over 30% of the damage of that unit of the team. So you've got to think, if you've got a team of 4 or a team of 5, he's taking 3 additional hits or 4 additional hits for your team. Not too bad if you can obviously protect himself and obviously take less damage, which is what you guessed defense does. Defense up 2 is a 40% increase of defense stat that we can see from obviously alpha. You got to remember, all of these values may change in the final game, guys, but this just gives you a really good understanding of what the hell you are kind of looking at when we read these heroes, right? So when we go back into it now, we understand he's going to put defense up 2, protect 2 on everyone apart from himself for 2 turns. And this is going to be a bit of a weird one because, yes, you're going to be putting up the defense 2 on everyone, so you're going to get it. But are you going to be able to keep Anu up is the real question. That is going to be the real question. If he is taking all of the heat, are you going to be wanting him in your team? Because his ultimate is where a lot of people are getting quite hot and bothered too about this hero. You place Phoenix on all allies for 2 turns. Then all allies except this hero will attack one target enemy. If an ally is under protect 2, you will heal for 30% of that damage dealt. So what's really important is obviously understanding what Phoenix is doing, right? So Phoenix is allowing you to basically resurrect from the dead. So you instantly revive upon death with 100% HP and 100% turn meter with the Phoenix buff, right? Which is really, really good. However, in order to get the second part of the skill of the ultimate, you are going to be needing to be under protection 2, meaning you're going to be wanting to scale up his ultimate through the divinity cost, and we'll see how that's earned in a moment. But you're going to need to be able to scale that divinity up to have the ultimate ready, so then when you cast your core ability and you got that protection 2 for either that turn or the next turn that you're going to roll around, you can actually apply this ultimate to get Phoenix on everyone, but more importantly, to heal any of the damage that you basically have been dealt through the previous turns. And to me, it seemed like a lot of effort to do that. Don't get me wrong, you will be able to find probably epic heroes, and you're going to be able to find some rare heroes as well, which will actually be able to place this Protect 2 buff on your team as well. And if you can find maybe another user to get Protection 2 on your team, Anu actually does feel like an okay pickup for the full team glue. He feels like the last piece that you might have needed for that kind of super tanky playstyle. For me though, I'm honestly going to say so far, he's not impressing me. I know it might be crazy, he's doing some really cool buffs here, but he's actually not going absolutely crazy on my radar. To finish it off though, his passive is for every 10% divinity on this hero, you reduce the damage allies receive by 3%. So again, this is a really weird one because I kind of want full divinity on this hero to then obviously do the 30% extra damage reduction on all allies, which would make my core ability work a much better. But at the same time, I kind of want to use my ultimate ability to put the Phoenix onto my team, so then they can also get the heal off as well. So it's a bit of a weird one because maybe it's just me, but I am not actually liking the synergistic way of Celestial Ward is working with the kit, because it feels like what this guy's passive is trying to say is you want to be on full divinity and kind of stay on that full divinity to have that reduction of damage on your allies, which is fantastic. I will tell you that is sick. Like, I'm happy for that. But at the same time, the fact that I need to use my ultimate to then put the Phoenix on and have my core ability running too on the Protect 2 to get the heal as well, it just seems like a bit counterintuitive, and maybe it works better when we try it out in game. But from my opinion, if you're going to be picking him up in the Godforge quests here, I don't think I would actually lock in this hero compared to some of the other heroes that we've been able to see in yesterday's video for obviously the Fateless team. So let's move on to the next one. And if you guys want to, just for everyone, there is the full image. So if you want to, you know, take the image, put it on your own Pantheon Discords and share it about so you can see what the current Anu skills are, go for it. But just remember, as it says at the bottom, everything could change. Anything and anything could change. So that is Anu currently in the lineup. So let's move on to my guy. So as you guys know, I already have Apollo locked in. And I'll be honest with you, I had Apollo locked in before the video and before anything, because I am under the impression that if you kind of want a safe start, you can always go for a support. If you go for some sort of support, some sort of invoker, it feels really safe because you know at the end of the day, that legendary support is going to keep you in good hands, right? You're not going to be worried about maybe not getting healed or not getting certain buffs or not just doing some really cool effects in general. So as you can see, I've already gone for Apollo, and Apollo is, I'll be honest, a monster of a hero. I actually really like this hero, and I'm glad that I've picked him up because he's another wisdom-based hero in the invoker slot, being a support, order, and at Olympus, and his first basic skill attacks one enemy 2 times for 200%, which is already a really good start. But the first hit places Mend on all allies for 1 turn. So basically, if you guys don't know what Mend does, it's basically healing over time. So you can reduce bleed stacks by 1, and you heal 10% of the maximum HP at the start of the turn. So Mend is a really good way of just keeping basically healing over time instead of having big bursts of heals like Isis can do really well, or even, I'm trying to think who else can do really good massive bursts of healing, but everyone will understand what the difference between big bursts and like healing over time skills, right? So we have got a healing over time skill on the first attack, and that's on all allies that gets applied to. But then the second hit has a 50, which can be increased to 75% chance, it's saying, to place acid on the target for 2 turns. And then what's really cool about this hero is if you find Artemis later down the line and you add her into your team, she will also join the attack. And what's really important about that is when she joins the attack, Artemis will also use her basic ability. So if she's got also a super strong basic ability, which can do some craziness and synergizes, as you can imagine, as it will with Apollo, this is just a really good little cherry on top. Because I'll be honest, without even the Artemis synergy, I'm happy. You got to remember, this guy's supposed to be a support. He's dealing damage, not massive damage, but he's dealing some damage. But he's also placing Mend on everyone within a basic ability, so this can always be triggered every single turn. And then you also have that chance to place Acid, and Acid is really nasty because Acid allows you, as you can see, to disable armor sets and deal 5% of the max HP damage at the start of the turn. And this deals double the damage to shields and barrier. That's what's really important too, because it really does basically counter the big barrier and shield comp. So love Acid a lot, and it's nasty when the armor sets get disabled. Anyone will tell you, it feels so bad when that happens. So you get all of that in his basic. Then you go to the next one, Core, which is Solar Mandate here. Attack one enemy 200%, and then you place an attack up 2 on all allies for 2 turns. This also equalizes the divinity of an ally with the lowest divinity to this hero's divinity. So what that means is, if you can imagine, we have our Apollo all the way up here at like 90% divinity, and we've got someone all the way down here, well, it's going to equalize, so it's going to pull them both together, so you might just lose a little bit, but it should equalize, how I am reading it, down, and that's quite nice. If it equalizes, so both of them are at like 70% or 60%, that's not too bad. And what's really cool is if Artemis is on the team as well, she gets her divinity done too. So you got to think, if you have an Artemis in the Apollo team especially, you're always getting a 2-for-1 deal on the core and on the basic ability, which isn't bad at all. That means your main DPS is going to get her divinity increased, and if you've got Apollo with any support, any tank, any disruptor, potentially their divinity is also going to get equalized. So that's why it's really powerful to keep getting these ultimate divinity like rotations going off, and I like it. This is on a 5-turn cooldown at the start, but it looks like it can be bucked down all the way to 3 turns. So massive one. Ultimate though, the Equinox of Purity and Rot. You attack all enemies for 150% attack, but you reduce the cooldown of each ally's core ability by 1 turn. And for each ally under Mend, you increase their divinity by 15%, and for each enemy under Acid, you decrease their divinity by 15%. So again, super powerful ability, because this is allowing us now, as you can see, to reduce the core abilities of our team. And if we've got certain players, certain heroes obviously in our team now, and they're on a 1-turn cooldown, let's say they've got a 3-turn cooldown, they can kill 2 enemies or 3 enemies, and they bring it down to 1 turn. Well, guess what? Apollo's going to just make it come instantly off cooldown and let them go again, which is just bonkers, because you got to remember, with ultimate abilities, you can do these out of turn. So even if you're on this 1 turn and you are running, let's just say like an Anu, and you need to get that core ability off to get that protection 2 up and get everything rolling, well, guess what? We can make sure we've got that going, because Apollo is going to be able to use it, bring it off that cooldown, let you get going, and start cooking more. So I actually really like this, and the fact that his ultimate is super easy to synergize with his basic ability as well is just kind of crazy. The fact that you can literally in his turn just press the basic attack, pass the turn to your next legend or god that you've got in your team, and then instantly press his ultimate to then increase and decrease the divinity due to the acid and men procs that you've got. What can I say? I actually think he is a great support, and if you're gonna think of picking Apollo, he's actually on the radar. As you can see, I've got him locked in, and I don't think I'm going to remove him from my list, because he's actually fantastic. What a good little support we've got here for our Olympians. And to finish it off, just obviously for his passive ability, we have an ally uses a core ability. You increase the damage of their core ability by 10%, and this stacks resets on each wave, which is really important, because what if you're in a dungeon like a raid boss, maybe like on Raid Shadow Legends with the spider, and you're just on the boss and it's just constant waves of enemies that are appearing, but you're still in that same stage, like you're in that wave 1 of 1, right? What's going to happen then? Because I'm going to keep getting my core ability resetting because of my Apollo, then my, for argument's sake, my Gilgamesh, he's gonna be able to just bang and kill someone and then do it again and again, and each time we do it, we're scaling the damage up. So who knows, we could maybe one-shot the boss if it's possible. We don't know, right? But I find that super fun. I think everyone will have a lot of fun with Apollo. So if you guys are thinking about putting Apollo onto your team, you're going to be able to do that. So just like before, we'll go to the full page here and you can see the full hero card yourself without my beautiful British face on screen. And you can take a screenshot for, again, your pantheons for every single one of you guys. So let's move on to the next one, which is going to be the best bit, obviously, Ares. And everyone has Ares, it seems, on their summons. A lot of people have been able to find him, and a lot of people have been wondering if they should lock him or not. And he is a strange hero. Let's just say that. He's a weird hero, and you're going to understand why, because me and the CHB crew were talking about this last night, and a big shout out to Mo and Zombie and Kadaj that we were talking about this with. Really did bring up some good points about Ares, and it's just a weird one. And if you guys want to join our Pantheon, I will put the Discord link in the description down below, so you can check out our Pantheon if you want to join the Camp Half-Bloods, just like myself. And basically, he has a leader bonus, which is great, right? He is a Slayer from the Strength area, and he's Chaos, just to say that. 30% critical damage in arena battles. So, his leader bonus is making you want to play him in arena, right? So he's meant to be, and he's trying to scream, I am a PvP hero, right? That's kind of what he's screaming here. Furious Onslaught, basic that, you attack one enemy 3 times for 115%, and you decrease their target defense by 2% for each time, right? So you're going to think you're going to go 2, 4, 6. That's how you're going to do it, right? Each strong hit also decreases the target's initiative by 5, right? So you're decreasing their initiative stat by 5, so this goes up to 50. So it goes 5, 10, 15, right? If you get 3 strong hits in a row as well, right? Because this attack hits 3 times, and you can, in theory, if you build him in a strong hit build, even though people are trying to say strong hit builds are bad, I wouldn't honestly listen to him. It's alpha, not early access, right? Where in early access, the game seems a lot different to how it were, right? The thing is, you're going to be wanting to try and strong hit with this hero to get all of these buffs off, right? Which is really good, really cool, very strong basic ability to, target one enemy, right? But then we've got Brutal Cleave, which is his core ability, which attacks all enemies for a 440% attack, and you ignore shield and barrier on each target. So this is allowing you now to directly hit the HP bar, which is very good. Very, very good, and I actually quite like this. The fact that you are basically being the counter to any kind of maybe like Brynhild or, Heimdall strategies where they're just putting tons of shield and barrier on. Well, with an Ares, you don't care because you're going to ignore that and you're going to hit through on each target, right? If you have a strong hit again, you remove all shield and barrier from each target, and if the enemy is defeated, you increase this hero's divinity by 10%. Now that is kind of scary, because the thing is, with just a single strong hit, it doesn't have to be like a strong hit of 1 billion damage. It just needs to strong hit, right? And when it does, you instantly strip shields and barrier from all of the enemies because you're hitting each target, right? Which is just kind of crazy too. So for PvP, the first 2 abilities, honestly, are good. Like for PvP, they are really, really good. I actually really like them, right? Now, Carnage Momentum, the ultimate, attacks one enemy 2 times. This is 275% attack, and you ignore Protect, Intercept, Immortal, and Ward, right? And if his target is a strong hit, you also ignore 20% of the target's defense, right? This whole kit does scream PvP. By any means, and as you can tell, this hero is designed to be a counterpiece. So the way I look at Ares, and I think the way a lot of the other guys were looking at Ares, is he is a good hero by any means for a DPS. He is really good. Is he going to be flexible, though, is the major question. And honestly, I don't think he is going to be flexible, because yes, you might find scenarios in the campaign, in dungeons, that you might be completing where shields and barriers a kind of a pain in the ass. And actually having an Ares being able to just strip it all instantly is a very powerful tool to have in a team. And the fact that you can ignore, protect, intercept, immortal, and ward, again, is very, very powerful. This is only because when you look at, again, these buffs, ward is immune to attack damage, so you literally ignore immunity with it. Then you have, obviously, retaliate, which is counterattack. Reflect is the non-resistant debuff received. Like, let's be honest, you are just skipping a lot of the game's fundamentals with this hero. However, it's only, honestly, I feel going to be worth it in that PvP space. And at the same time, some people might say you could probably find just as good of a PvP hero in another DPS option. So what I'm going to try and say is, quite politely, is without going any further, Ares is a good champion. He is going to be fantastic in PvP. Does he have his uses in PvE? Of course, he's able to instantly shred shield and barriers if there is content that demands it. But if there's no content that really honestly demands that really cool tool that he has, which is stripping that, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Ares is going to be one of those picks that you want to get as a starter hero. If you pick up Ares through a summon, that's completely different. You're going to be absolutely buzzing because he's an actual sick hero. But to try and start off the game of Godforge and try and help yourself out with giving yourself a bit of an easier start than you wanted to obviously just begin with a rare hero, honestly, I don't think Ares is going to be the one for you, and hopefully you understand that, right? The Warborn Frenzy debuff is each time an enemy receives a debuff, you increase this hero's chance to strong hit too, which is really good because honestly, you could think when you're playing teams with some of the future heroes that you're going to see in this list, and even if you had heroes that had certain epic weapons that was able to spread debuffs, you could honestly get his ability to strong hit very consistently, and that is what he's all about. It's all about those strong hits and that strong hit team, and we're gonna have to see how much better that is in early access compared to alpha. So for everyone, again, here is the good old full screen for you. If you want to take this picture home, take it home for you, and hopefully it's a nice good old crisp one for you with no heads on top. So moving on to the fourth hero, we've got Sizzin. So Sizzin is going to be a big one for a lot of players, right? So Sizzin is another DPS, but instead of being more PvP based, you can see he has a 30% attack in dungeon battles. This is going to be really good because, again, you're going to be tackling dungeons and bosses all the time, so we're going to have that always, and having more attack is better because if they're dead, guess what? We don't have to worry about CCing them down. A lot of people would say it, right? So his very first actual attack, you attack all enemies with his basic for 380% with a 40% increase of the 60% chance to place acid on each target for 2 turns. So if you guys remember earlier, I'll see if you do, from your memory, what does acid do as a beginner? Because if you remember, it should, yes, disable all of the armor sets, and just on top of it, give you that little bit of damage by dealing 5% maximum HP at the start of the turn, which doubles against barriers and shields. So it is a really good basic ability here. This is a massive amount of damage for 2 turns with a good percentage chance, which scales up. And you got to think, for wave clearing, if you are trying to farm in the future, those maybe sets of gear, you're farming chickens, you're farming, I don't know, imprints, whatever it is you're going to be farming, already having an attack all enemy basic with a really good high modifier is a thumbs up. Everyone will tell you that is a thumbs up. It's going to make you speed farm like Sonic the Bloody Hedgehog. I'm going to be honest with you. So going into Ground Quake, the core ability, you attack all enemies for 410% attack with 75% chance, which scales to 100% chance to place Blaze 2 on our targets. Now, this is a new keyword, but if you guys were very clever and spot it, it is right next to me. So Blaze deals damage to the target, right? It's 2% maximum HP, but it's to all heroes on the team, right? So obviously then it scales up to 4% and then 6% at stages 2 and 3, which is there for the Blaze. So just think, if you've got Blaze on, everyone on the team is taking this damage over time instead of this one singular target taking this damage over time, right? So going into that now, you can see we've got Acid and we've got Blaze. We're able to place 2 of the damage over time effects through 2 different skills, and you can see this is going to be a 4-turn cooldown going into a 3-turn cooldown for Season here, right? And really good rotation, because you got to think we can technically on turn 1, if we really wanted to, core ability, then turn 2 basic ability, and depending on who you're running, maybe like an Apollo, you could reset this core and go again, right? So you could do some really crazy funky stuff, and honestly, wave clear like a monster. And even if you didn't have the core up, you don't care, because again, the basic allows you to attack all enemies. And what's really powerful about attack all enemies, if you didn't know, is you can get heroes, for example like Aphrodite, that can make you join an attack. And if you join an attack with AoE, well, I'm just going to say everyone likes a bit of double AoE. That's value town here in Godforge, as anyone will tell you. So really, really powerful abilities already just from the basic and core. So on my radar, yes, Season is actually on my radar already just from these 2 abilities alone, being just so good for just overall content in the game. Ultimate though, we have Rite of Flame and Decay. This is again attack all enemies. So we have the full trifecta, the holy trinity of AoE. What a man. Honestly, what a man. 430% attack, and you activate any acids and bleed on each target. And you also apply precision on this hero for 1 turn. This is one of the newer keywords in the game. So precision basically allows you, from what I remember, I believe it's increasing the amount of damage that the acid and blaze do, right? I believe, because if we go to the Godforge buffs here, you can have Phoenix, you can have Protect, but you'll see there's no one of them, right? This is a brand new kind of ability, and we do have some of them down here at the bottom too, but that one hasn't been added into the mix, right? But I'm sure precision increases the amount of damage that you take from damage over time abilities. I'm pretty certain from my memory. So again, if that is the case, thumbs up. Thumbs up, because this is so goddamn good. And why this is so goddamn good is because when you look at his passive and then start to think about how you can start the game, Season is honestly a fantastic choice. You have an enemy, Ashes of Decay passive. If an enemy is under acid, you reduce their incoming healing by 50%, right? This hero applies acid on his A1. And the thing is, if you start the game, as many people will tell you, Ramses, unless they've changed Ramses, also applies acid. So you already have 2 people that can apply acid, as well as I think it's Tutankhamun. He also can do this. He's a really good rare as well that applies acid, as well as some other debuffs as well. So you can have a lot of early game synergy with Season here. Really, really powerful, right? So if you want my opinion already, if you've seen Season, and yes, a lot of the content creators will tell you, go for a defender, go for a support. They're going to give you the easiest chance. Maybe they might, but guess what? Season here is going to be an all-star beginning hero. I will tell you that now. Being able to wave clear after wave clear after wave clear, having Blaze and Acid 2 onto his kit with precision as a DPS, and with the fact that you can have, again, the starting hero Ramses to your kit is actually a really good starting option. Ramses, Season, and just find 2 good, okay, whatever supports and defenders, and that will get you through the content. I promise you, for you, right? So absolutely banging. And just for all of the other heroes that we've done so far, There's your full screen. There's your full screen. Take it and run away with it. Run away. Run, run, run. So, moving on now. Fusion. So, Fusion is going to be, I think, a really interesting hero to talk about. Because he is in the cunning. He's a defender. He's got 50 resistance in all battles. The very first all battles we've seen out of all of these heroes. And let's be real. Not too shabby. Resistance, if you guys are wondering, is allowing you to basically not get hit by crowd control effects and stuff like that as often, right? So the more resistance you have, the better to basically, you know, not take any weird debuffs and so forth. So when we look at his skills, Gust of Wind Basic, you attack all enemies. A really good start already for 210% defense and 120% attack, which does showcase that with that 210%, you do kind of want to scale a little bit more into there. But you have a 30% chance, which scales into a 50% chance to place a resistance down to on each target for 2 turns. And I'm going to be honest, that is kind of disgusting on its own. So you got to think, you have now a 50% chance to hit every single enemy when you have this skill maxed out, right? And with a resistance down 2 buff, you're going to make it, right? So their resistance stat is reduced by 40%. So just think, if you are running any sort of heroes that need those disables and stuff to land, or you're running a team even with like Pandora that's able to kind of like spread and steal these debuffs and really manipulate the field, right, and the tempo of the play because they've got no resistance, I'll be honest, it is actually a really good basic, and I think people are underestimating it just because the basic also says if Raijin is on the team, he will join the attack. And don't worry, we will go over Raijin and why this is actually really powerful too, because you get, obviously, like I said with Apollo, an additional bonus for just having this extra hero in, and without the hero, the skill's already bonkers. Let's be honest, I actually think it's a really good AoE. Is it big damage? No. But is it actually utility that you need? Hell yes. Straight away. So for me, absolutely love this, right? And the fact that you getting 50 resistance is just such a tempo swing. Windwall. Windwall Core. This is a 5-turn cooldown. It bucks down to 3 turns from here. And you attack all enemies 210%. This is going to be 120% attack. And then the protection 2, which we've seen earlier on. So if you guys want me to remind you, we can. So just for the protection, this is 30%, right? So he will take 30% of the damage of whatever the unit would have been taking instead. So basically, instead of them taking 100%, they take 70% of the damage and you get the 30, right? Just so you guys really understand what that's doing. You then also place Stalwart on all allies for 1 turn. And then what's really cool is, again, if Raijin is in this team, you also place Ward on him, meaning Raijin, right? So that's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of DPS. But basically, what this is doing is making you immune to disables. So this is really good. This is basically allowing you to counter some very powerful magic, as I like to call it. Some freeze, some good old despairs, you name it. Guess what? Stalwart stops it from happening. And that is very big for your team, especially in PvE and PvP too, I think. I actually like this hero quite a lot, and the fact that he's able to have this is huge. Ward, as you can see, is immune to attack damage, so just think the Raijin will also have the ward on him as well. So that does come into considerations when it comes into his kit, just to remember. But his ultimate transfers 1 debuff from each ally onto this hero, then you attack someone for a big amount of damage, but then you transfer all debuffs from this hero to that target, and for each debuff transferred, you increase all allies barrier by 50%, and I like that skill a lot. I actually think this is going to be a lot better than people actually give it credit for. You got to think this is a full team cleanse, and at the same time, you're able to put all of those debuffs onto a single target. And I know at first this doesn't sound powerful because of Raid Shadow Legends or what other games you may have played in the past. However, we have seen epic weapons. We have seen Pandora that basically say if we attack this hero, guess what? We have a percentage chance to spread a debuff. And if you're able to place all the debuffs onto one enemy and then hit that same enemy and spread all of those same potential debuffs on everyone else, I'm going to be honest, that is disgusting in every single right. And you get paid off for doing it because you get a barrier for each time that you do it for all of your allies. So I actually really like Fujin. I actually think Fujin as a defender is going to catch a lot of people out. I actually think he's a very good defender, giving you Stalwart and technically Ward if you get Raijin. But the fact that you're getting Pro 2, Stalwart, and the fact that you're a full team cleanser, and you're placing resistance down too, he basically is that type of tank that is a real team player. He isn't there to deal damage. He's there to set up your team. He's almost like the glue that's holding everyone together. So I actually think if you got Fujin, you might actually really enjoy this hero, especially going through the content. Because I honestly think he is going to be able to be used in a variety of content. And that is also just because, to finish it off, his passive, Cyclone Barrier. Reduce the damage received by allies and from AoEs, right, by 30%. So any AoE attacks on allies is getting reduced by 30%. Well, we have Protection 2 on, and obviously there's Stalwart, and now we're reducing just raw damage by 30%. That's crazy, man. Like, I'm pretty certain Fafnir did pretty much only area of effect attacks. So just think, if you could reduce all of that damage on your allies by 30%, that is huge for your team, right? So Fujin, I'm actually a lot more excited for compared to, for example, Anu, who we saw earlier on, out of these 11 heroes. So just like before, full screen for all of those degenerates that need those screenshots to send to our Pantheons. And again, if you guys do this, just obviously give some credit where credit due, and obviously thank the Fateless team in order for giving us content creators the privilege to obviously have all of these really high definition images instead of trying to screenshot it and all of that jazz through their YouTube videos. So we've only got 6 remaining. I know it's been a long one, but hey, you've got something to listen to, you've got something to watch through. It's kind of mind jam here. I don't care how long the video is going to take. I'm going to record it and upload it, right? So, next one, Izanagi. Izanagi is going to be a Wisdom Invoker. And this hero, woo, I'm going to be honest, he gets me hot and bothered because he looks amazing already. But let's get into his kit. Celestial Slash. Basic ability, you attack one enemy. There's no damage there, which might be just a typo, but it is what it is. But we attack one enemy with a wet noodle. Let's just say that. And we increase the divinity of all allies by 5%. And that's it. That is it. If Izanami is on the team, she will join the attack. And we'll see her again very, very shortly, so don't worry. Basic alone. Wow. I don't think people realize the fact that you're increasing your ultimate charge on all of your team by 5% is actually such a big deal. Because what people don't realize, especially in Godforge, you don't just get your ultimate ability off the get-go. You don't get this off the rip. You need to work towards it. So a lot of heroes might say you're going to need to place bleed onto a target, and if you do, you get their ultimate because there might be Dracula, right? Maybe you've got someone like Aphrodite that needs to place these initiative and speed up buffs, and when you do, her ultimate comes online. So the fact that this is allowing you to get to your goal faster is actually massive because it allows you to potentially beat in PvP and in PvE content the enemy team to what they're trying to do. If they're running the same team, apart from Izanagi is not in there, and you can get to all of your main DPS and tank roles ultimates first, that honestly could be the literally game-winning play. So honestly, Celestial Slash, just even though it doesn't sound big, it doesn't sound crazy like the other two abilities or any of the basic abilities we've seen so far, don't overlook it, because I actually think this is one of, if not the most powerful abilities we've actually seen in these basics, because it's such a powerful way to be skipping Divinity. And you've got to remember, this is on your basic attack. So any Aphrodites, any sort of Shamash, right? Anyone that allows you to join in on an attack, even if you've got, like, for example, the Wukong imprint that gives you a 25% chance to join an attacks. Every joint attack is giving everyone 5% more ult, and it's just going to start building and building up, and the value over a fight is actually crazy, if you ask me, right? So then we get into his core ability. That's just his basic. That's just his basic. His core ability is a 6-turn cooldown. It goes to a 4-turn cooldown. Initiative up to, on allies, 2 turns, and then you reduce the divinity cost of all allies by 10%, and this goes up to 3 times. So basically, you're reducing the overall divinity cost. So if it was 1,000, well, guess what? You're reducing that by 30%. That's huge. That is flipping huge, especially when you are speeding them up already through your basic, and now you're reducing the maximum that you need to reach. Oh boys, that is literally moving the goalposts as we speak. That is literally Izanagi in a whole roll, right? Purification is the ultimate. You place attack up 2 on all allies, and then you increase the divinity of all allies by 20%. You also increase the damage of each ally's next ultimate ability by 30%. And if Izanami is on the team and has been defeated, guess what? You revive her with 50% HP and 100% turn meter. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Like, if you really want to go into the playstyle of rotating ultimates and using your ultimate as fast, as often as possible, Izanagi so far is your guy. That is your guy. Don't look back. And I honestly think he is a monstrous of a hero, where he might be the only one, honestly, that might take my Apollo off his reign so far if we pull him in the 200 that we need to pull, right? So absolutely crazy hero that we've got there on display. And just to finish it off, we do have the passive. For every 5 buffs placed on the enemy team, activate this hero's basic ability against the enemy with the highest turn meter. So again, just absolutely nuts, because when your enemy team is just trying to play the game and they're buffing themselves up, you can attack, and guess what? If we attack, we get that 5% and we get in that ultimate. Oh yeah. And just think, this Breath of the Life passive, if you find this as an imprint, you can put this on so many different heroes. It's insane. Yes, it's for every 10 buffs for the imprint down here, but that is still a nasty imprint for the amount of buffs that can be applied through mends, through reflex, through resistance ups, attack ups, defense ups, that constantly keep happening over the course of the fight, that you're able to just get this off. Boys and girls, just... here's the full screen before I go even more crazier on this hero, because he has been, so far, I'm going to call him my number 1 so far out of all of these heroes. What an insane hero that you can pick up for your team. And just to kind of solidify why he's so good is he's doing everything and anything at such a simple level, but it's so effective. He's only playing an attack up 2, and he's only putting an initiative up 2. So he's only increasing those 2 types of stats. But the fact that he's doing so much divinity management, and he's able to just really raise that divinity, is bonkers. It is bonkers. I can't wait. If I get an Izanagi, I actually think I'm going to play him. He's just bonkers, I think, for people and then don't understand the power of ultimates and being able to get to your ultimates faster because of all the divinity requirements that you're going to need. So here she is. This is Izanami. So just so you guys understand, remember, Izanagi gets this next hero to join the attacks, and he can revive her as well. So she is a disruptor, one of the first disruptors that we've seen on the whole list. She is also wisdom in the Kojiki faction in chaos, just so you guys have all of that info. Hero skills: fade and slash. You attack one enemy with a 40%, which goes up to 60% chance to place an initiative down 2. And this is nothing huge. It is, don't get me wrong, it is a good debuff. If you guys are wondering, we'll just go to the boy's channel. So this is decreasing your initiative stat by 20%. And if I remember correctly, your initiative is how much divinity you earn on your requirement. So let's just say you would earn 10 divinity for each stack of bleed. If you have so much more higher initiative, instead of 10, you might earn 15, you might earn 20, you might earn 30. You can basically, if I remember correctly, increase the amount of that stat that you have, right? So not too shabby, but you got to remember, I honestly think Izanami is really good with that joint attack. Like, if you get to do this twice, that's very powerful because you get a 6% chance to bang 2 guys, and then with the Izanagi, you get that joint attack in, so it's really good. I don't think it is as powerful as Izanagi's basics. If you want to compare, that's where we're going to compare. Now, core ability. You remove shield from all enemies, then attack all enemies with a 75% chance, which goes all the way up to 100% chance to place corrupt. And this is a new keyword for all of us here that you haven't seen in the video so far. And this unit basically steals any buffs that they get placed. So if you've got, just for an argument's sake, corrupt on you for one, well, guess what? That's one buff you steal. You just steal it, right? Easy as pie. But this is going on the target for 3 turns. So that's 3 buffs that you're stealing. And you're literally shredding shields, which is crazy because now in Izanagi's kit, in Izanami's kit, she makes Izanagi join the attack with his core ability, which means this blessed infusion comes in, which is quite huge because that means in one turn you could like auto attack with Izanagi, get that 5% plus now the initiative from your, obviously, Izanami on. Then it's your Izanami's turn, and then you can trigger her core on purpose to maybe just shred all of the enemy shields that they might have applied on, and then to force the core for Izanagi. So if you've not guessed it, you literally get a 2-for-1 with both of these heroes because of the way their abilities are triggered. So out of all of the heroes, and will be ruthless, Izanami so far really does feel like she's going to be a good hero, but she's actually going to be a lot stronger with Izanagi. Izanagi, though, on the other hand, just seems like a powerhouse. So that's just how good he is without her, right? So just to keep Izanami's, hopefully she's got some love and some faith at the end of this, but her ultimate attacks all enemies with a 75% chance, goes up to 100% chance to place speed down 2 and curse 2 on each target. Now that's not too shabby either. So, Curse 2 is a 50% reduced incoming healing, shielding, and barrier strength. So that's not too shabby, especially when there's heroes like Heimdall out there, even like heroes like bloody Shishi that can just barrier like mental, as we've seen, and even just, I'm trying to think, Tristan, Brynhild, right? Even the guys we saw earlier on, like Fujin, for example. All of these heroes can really do some nasty barriers, and if you can cut that off by 50%, that's huge. That is huge. And then obviously the speed down too, decreasing their speed by 20% is massive as well. Because as you imagine, if you decrease their speed with Izanami, your team most likely should jump up in turn order and allow you to basically steal a turn, hopefully, from your opponents and to go off a little bit quicker. So I'll be honest, out of all of the heroes so far, Izanami is the one that actually hasn't got me the most excited, and I'm kind of disappointed. I was looking really forward to her, especially with Izanagi looking so good. It made me really want Izanami to be just as good, but in my opinion, she's a great hero, but she doesn't feel as great as Izanagi, and it feels like if you have both on together, that's where Izanami shines. I don't think Izanami is actually going to be that good without Izanagi, and that might be the harsh reality of it all. So to finish it off, here is the full screen. While I just read out the passive, which is the hero attacks enemy unders initiative down, you decrease their turn meter by 5%. So again, it's not too shabby. You do this obviously through your basic or through the passive to make it work, but I'll be honest with you, she has not tickled the pickle. She has not actually got me as excited as any of the other actual 7 gods that we've dealt with so far. So with that, let's move on to number 8. And we're almost there. We're on number 8 out of 11, right? We've got Lamash 2. And hopefully, I'm giving you guys a bunch of information and my, obviously, understanding of these heroes and why I like them and not like them, and at the end, hopefully make your decision a little bit easier, right? So, Lamash 2, Slayer, absolute monstrous, got the boobers out, holy smokes. But the hero skill is basic, attack one enemy 2 times for 250%, not too shabby. But if the target is defeated, you increase the damage of your next AoE attack by 50%. And this is kind of key to what you're going to see with Lamash 2's actual kit. So her core ability attacks all enemies for 300%. And if this ability defeats 3 or more enemies, you reset its cooldown and you increase the divinity by 200. So as you can kind of see, you can either do one or two things with this, right? With your demon daggers, you can try and target one person and kill them, or you can try and get a joint attack in to get that in and kill them, because that will trigger that 50% ready for that Lamash 2's core. Then you want the core to come out and absolutely obliterate them, right? Because if you obliterate 3 or more enemies, it's resetting the cooldown, which would be really, really good for, you know, bosses or dungeon raids that really require, you know, masses amount of wave clear, especially like we saw Sizzin, who can do really good wave clear too, right? But the difference is this is just off cooldown. It just keeps coming and coming. Like, imagine the spider bosses are coming at you and all the spiderlings are, and you just wipe them out and it's just there again, and you wipe them out, and each time you're doing that, you're getting 200 divinity, which is going to work towards the ultimate, which is placing an attack up 2 on his hero for 2 turns, and then it attacks all enemies with a 300% attack blast. Then for each enemy defeated, you summon a demon of pestilence, which explodes on impact, triggering soul eruption with 50% chance of placing vulnerable to and acid on all enemies for 2 turns. And soul eruption is her passive, which, so we're going to read that straight away. When this hero defeats an enemy, they explode, inflicting damage of 100% to all enemies, which ignores 100% of defense but cannot be critical. So what this is basically saying is it's true damage. You can't block this, like this damage is occurring. That's quite nice. So absolute bonkers kit, absolute bonkers. She is now, unfortunately, Sizzin, taking the #1 spot for DPS out of these heroes. Holy smokes, is she bad? Is she bad? Hell yes, she's bad, and not in the terrible way. She's just, oh, she's a terror. The fact that, like, you can, honestly, even with the basic attack, just think, basic attack, if you kill someone, you boost up your next core, right? but you also blow up for 100% attack now all enemies, which lowers their health bars and obviously gets you ready for your core off again to just start firing. And the thing is, it's a 5-turn cooldown, so if you mess up, it does punish you. However, when you book it and when you start to upgrade it, it seems it's a level 3, so it's 3-turn cooldown on that. That is quite nasty. That is quite nasty out of all of the heroes. So straight away, my opinion, yes. It's just yes. Yes. If you see Lamash on here, I would honestly go for it. I would 100% go for it because she's actually like an insanely powerful DPS. Like, she's got good damage, really good AoE. She applies vulnerable to and acid. Ooh, pardon me. She's making me hungry somehow. Weird. Vulnerable to and acid though on the enemies. Like, she's doing quite a lot. Here's the full screen. I can't. If you want it, she is taking my #1 DPS pick. She's honestly picking the #1 DPS pick so far. Out of all of them so far in this video. Absolute monster. Now, Morgan Le Fay. My girl from the Avalon faction. Chaos and also a Slayer. Now, Morgan here is going to hurt your heads because, as you can see, there's a lot of text. And that is because she is a beast at doing debuffs, right? So, when you look at her basic, she is doing 150% attack, but 1,000% accuracy, which is craziness. Like, they are literally telling you, max out your accuracy because that's gonna make this hero hit like a truck, and it's going to make her kit work more importantly, because you get a 35%, which goes up to a 50% chance to place vulnerable to on all enemies. So if you were wondering, vulnerable is actually what I thought precision was. So my bad earlier on, precision is a different buff that we just didn't have on the website here, but vulnerable is increasing the damage dealt by debuffs for 40%. So with vulnerable now, any bleeds, acids, you name it, they're doing more damage, right? So when you read her next skill, she also activates a random debuff on that target, and this is all on that basic, right? So you hit them really hard, a massive AoE, you put vulnerable on them, and you trigger a debuff, right? Her core ability is a 3-turn cooldown when it's booked. It's 4-turn cooldown without book. Attack all enemies. 50 attack and 400% accuracy 3 times. Excuse me? Like, that's a lot of damage. Each hit has a 50% to 75% chance to place either Aetherburn, Blaze 2, or Acid, or Bleed at random. And it's going to be either 2 turn stack for your Aetherburn, Blaze, and Acid, or it's going to be 1 stack of Bleed. So this is actually really important because you do need to know what these are doing, because Aetherburn, as you can see, is actually reducing the chance to increasing the chance to weak hit, which reduces the divinity by 3%, which is massive. So if someone weak hits, you really screw them over, and people get quite upset. Everything else we kind of know. We know what Acid does, right? We know what Blaze does, and we know what Bleed does. So you can put any of the damaging base damage over time effects onto the enemy, and then what's really cool about that is you can detonate it. So again, if we've not noticed a common theme here, and it's an easy one to always come back to, if you caught with Morgan Le Fay and you Shamash, you Aphrodite, you have the Wukong imprint, you name it, whatever it is, if you join attack, guess what? You're going to be triggering one of those at random. Like, wow. That is so good. Like, this is such a good little combo just between the basic and core. Like, Morgan Le Fay is gonna do some serious damage over time effects. And I actually can see her being really good because of this in a variety of content. Honestly, being able to place burn or acid is huge in certain areas. And again, placing bleed or aether burn is, again, massive in certain areas. So I actually think she's going to be, if you're looking for a hero to lock in, go for it. Why not? She is going to do what you expect her to do. But on top of this, we've got Ruin of Avalon. So this is her ultimate ability. Before attacking, you remove any aether burns, bleed stacks, acids, blaze from each target, and then you attack all enemies. This is again for 200% attack, but 1200% accuracy. And for every 5 debuffs removed, you increase the damage inflicted by 25%. And if you do 20 or more debuffs removed, you increase this hero's turn meter by 100%, meaning they take another turn. Mind blown. And I know a lot of players are going to probably read this and not be as excited as I am, right? But hear me out. This is for every 5 debuffs removed because you attack and you're attacking all enemies, right? Argument's sake, you are playing Lady Shock. You are playing Ramses, right? Just 2 starting heroes that can literally AoE bleed, AoE acid. So if you have any of those type of heroes on your team, bro, you are instantly going to be able to have this 5 every time. Because you're never not going to have 5 on. You know what I'm saying? So the amount of debuffs being removed is actually a positive. I know a lot of people don't like this, but you got to remember, if you do get that 20 or more debuff removed, which is more likely only going to happen against giant teams when you're against, 4 or 5 man squads and you're able to apply multiple bleeds in one go, right? That's where that's going to be used. Where I honestly think with the 5 debuffs, that's going to be mainly for bosses. Imagine if you're in a boss realm with an Achilles, and Achilles applies 5 debuffs, which is 5 bleed stacks from attacking and retaliating. Well, Morgan Le Fay can just instantly strip them off and get 25% more damage onto her ultimate, and that's so much more powerful for doing so, right? Even though this is an attack all enemies, just remember this is for AoE. So if you're gonna go for any dungeons, any bosses, obviously bosses with multiple enemies is the go-to, but it just kind of emphasize and trying to explain, like, just use your heads a little bit with some of the kits that we've seen in alpha, and you'll be surprised that there's going to be some strategies that people aren't thinking because they're too one-dimensional, thinking only deal damage is good and doing anything else is bad, right? That's the hard, honest truth about this. The passive of Morgan Le Fay, I think, just kind of adds into how good she is. This hero gains bonus effects when debuffs activate. So if an Aether Burn does, you increase her divinity by 50, so you get to your ultimate sooner. If Blaze does, you increase this next core ability damage by 5%. So guess what? This is going to do even more. Why not? And if Acid is on this hero, you get to increase the turn meter by 10%. And then if there's Bleed on on them, you get to, again, apply a massive, nice heal to this hero. I honestly think Morgan Le Fay is do you know what? She's just taken number 1. I'm sorry. I am sorry, right? She has actually just reclaimed number 1. Lamash, you was number 1, but you're number 2 now. Girl, that is insane. Why is this insane? You got to think, if you pick Morgan Le Fay, you can honestly run her in so many different team comps. It's unreal. You can run her in an Acid team, in a Blaze team, Bleed team. You could play her in a team that revolves around Pandora, stealing those buffs and then maybe applying debuffs to spread around. You can do so much with this one hero. The actual hero pool of Godforge is at your disposal. I'm going to be honest with you. And because either way you do, you get something out of her. With that imprint too, it's just, wow. Sorry, that imprint is just insane. absolutely love this. Wow. Morgan Le Fay, take a bow. Take a bow for this video, because if you've not guessed it, she's going to be up there. And don't worry, guys. Before you worry, I know we're at the final two. I will do an overall summary of all the heroes that we've gone through so far on what I would put as my more higher picks that I would like to have in my team, and the ones that don't tickle my interest, maybe just because they're not as interesting or they just don't seem as fun as the other heroes are going to be doing, right? So, number 10, Raijin. So this is the guy that's going to work with Fujin. So if you go back here, just so you guys can refresh your memory, Fujin is the defender, and when you attack with the core ability of Fujin, our Raijin will come into the attack as well. Also, Raijin will get a ward placed onto him. And at the same time, if Raijin is on the team, you can transfer all the debuffs to this hero, right? So, really important to remember that. So, when we read Raijin now, he is a Slayer, so the opposite of his brother Fujin. His basic ability, his leaderboard is too, 25% attack on all battles. I like that. Good start. Honestly, really good start. Basic ability. Attack 3 random targets. Okay. If the target is under a debuff, you place barrier 50% of this attack on this hero. If Fujin is on the team, he will also gain barrier and he will join the attack. Okay. Yes, I like this. I like this a lot. So, you can see the both are going to be attacking with each other, and they honestly are working hand in hand with each other, right? Both have got really good abilities on their basics, but when they are together, oh boy, I can see this getting really messy with the bongos drums here. We've got the core ability, which is 5 turn cooldown into 4. Attack all enemies 2 times. The first hit has a 75, which goes up to 100% chance to apply Hex 2 on the target. And just to read it for you guys, Hex is, again, also allows 10% of this damage received allies take. So if you put Hex on someone, everyone else is going to take that damage that they take, which is going to be 10% in this case, right? Then we also have a 75% chance to 100% chance to apply a defense down 2 on each target for 2 turns. Now that is disgusting, because you got to think, if we are placing defense down 2 onto the targets, they have an Hex 2 onto the targets. Well, guess what? They're taking now more damage, meaning we get even more value naturally out of that Hex. And that is actually a really good debuff to put on. Obviously, we attack all enemies twice too, which is really important. I think many people might overlook that. Why? In the early game, 75% chance, that gives you 2 ways, 2 chances of hitting that 75. So if you might have missed that one hero in the lineup, well, this hopefully gets you it, right? So this should always be up, right? You should always have the Hex up too. It's going to be very unlucky for you not to have it, right? Let's be honest. It'll be really unlucky for you not to have it. So Supercharged Pulse is the ultimate. You attack all enemies 3 times. You increase this hero's divinity by 10% for each enemy defeated. And if Fujin is on the team, you also increase his divinity by the same amount. So this is a weird one, because I'm not feeling his ultimate as much as Fujin's. However, it's still a good ability, because you're increasing the hero's divinity by 10% for each enemy defeated, meaning you want to kind of try to use this in maybe like wave-based combat, because then if you can kill 2 or 3 guys and then increase this by like 30%, so you don't have to do as much, and maybe you got an Izanagi in there, and Izanagi increases it even further and reduces the requirement that you need. It might be one of those type of comms with like Raijin, Fujin, Izanagi, and maybe like just anyone else that you might need to fulfill that spot. Basically rotate their ultimate abilities as fast as they can, because that's where their real power is, right? And that is actually quite an interesting playstyle, especially if you're able to place the Hex 2 and the Defense Down 2 on the enemies, and you're able to keep rotating ultimates as fast as you can with Raijin and Fujin. I think he's actually growing on me. I actually think this might be one of the heroes, I'll be honest. I think this is one of the heroes where in-game we will honestly see how good he is compared to how we're seeing his skills here. Because I don't think these skills are doing justice on how good he is, especially when you get Fujin together. Fujin and Raijin seem like they do, like Izanami. Izanami feels like she needs to be with Izanagi, but Izanagi feels like he can be on his own. Fujin feels like he can be on his own, and I think Raijin might be able to too, but it still feels like an Izanami situation where I need that Fujin to get, honestly, the real love out of this whole kit. And it's not a bad kit at all, just remember that, right? So Eye of the Storm passive. When an enemy receives a debuff, you shock them, inflicting damage 100%, and this cannot be ignored, and it cannot crit. This can trigger one time per enemy turn. So you can't basically machine gun lightning stone them down, which is a little bit disappointing, because I'd have loved to do that. I'd love to see, you know, lightning strike the same place twice. Let's be honest, that would be fun. But it's not too shabby. It's actually really good. And especially if you think about the Eye of the Storm passive or even the imprint. Especially the imprint, actually. The imprint is actually something that's catching my eye. When an enemy receives a debuff, you have a 50% chance to shock them for 100% damage. Imagine you had the imprint again on a Pandora-style epic weapon that is spreading debuffs and applying debuffs just in general. Like, Eye of the Storm is just giving you that extra bit of value on top of that type of playstyle. Like, maybe it's not the same playstyle for everyone, but if you're into, like, literally just applying a ton of debuffs and getting it around and trying to trigger it to then do it again, maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you want to put, like, Eye of the Storm on Morgan Le Fay. Because if I can trigger one of these random buffs, and I can heal on all this craziness here, and I can also, like, deal true damage to them, just as an added bonus, why wouldn't I? I'm getting ahead of myself. So you can see this is why everyone is wondering what the hell should you lock in for, obviously, Godforge's mini quest. And just to give this summary for Raijin, I do think Raijin, from my first impressions here, is actually a pretty good hero. He's alright. I don't think he's actually going to be on my top of the list. However, if I pulled Raijin, and I definitely did pull Fujin, I am telling you now, I am using them two together, and I'm not looking back, because them two together seem like an absolute monstrous of a pairing, right? So now we're at the final hurdle. We're at the final hurdle before we go through the summary, and that's Svarog. Svarog, the nice wisdom defender from the, what is it, the Virage faction. It's the same one from Transylvania's Count Dracula and Volak and all of them. So he's going to give you 30% defense in dungeon battles. We've seen that before. So now we get attack one enemy for 220%, 105% attack, and then you get a 75 to 100% chance to place Blunt 2 on the target for 2 turns. So Blunt 2, just for everyone, since that is a new keyword, if you read it to the right side, it is decreasing your strong hit damage, and it is decreasing your critical hit damage by 20%. So that is massive, because again, in maybe PvP, in different, you know, PvE areas, especially against bosses, when you're able to reduce that damage, it makes obviously the tank's job easier, because he doesn't have to technically obviously take or withstand as much damage, and so does your team. It also obviously makes your invoker happier too, because she can heal a lot more easier too over time. So I do like that. I like that Blunt 2. Only one enemy though compared to AoEs that we've seen, but it is what it is. Celestial Hammer, it's a 4-turn cooldown, goes into a 3-turn cooldown, 260% defense with 145% attack. You attack all enemies, and with a 75% chance to 100% chance at max, you place attack down 2 on each target for 2 turns, but you also place protect 2 on all allies for 2 turns. So this is the first time compared to all the other ones where everyone is getting all the buffs, right? And that's really important because that means Svarog here, if you think about it, we'll go up here. He's getting that 30% damage, right? So allies who place this buff take 30% damage of this units would receive, right? So he is basically going to be doing the same as everyone else, right? He's going to be taking that damage in, but what's better is he's reducing your attack by, what, 20% or 40%? Let me just double check for you guys. It is 40%. So 40% damage down, right, basically. And he's doing 20% of your critical damage too. So he's really making your damage feel like you're hitting with a wet super noodle. And that's fair enough. I actually quite like that. The ultimate is place resistance up 2, defense up 2 on all allies for 3 turns. And then you place a 250% defense shield on all allies. Now, I quite like that. Why do I like that? This hero honestly gives me alpha vibes, meaning on paper and when you use them, they're really simple to use, but they're so effective because of being so simple to use. Do you get what I'm saying? Because his Forge Fire Protection passive, each time an ally uses an ultimate, you decrease the damage received by all allies. So anytime we keep firing off our ultimates, we're going to be able to just start stacking and stacking more damage reduction on here. And I actually quite like that. I really like that, because even if we just hypothetically thought about it, and some people might not believe you can do this, but you can, because we've done it in alpha, you could run, for argument's sake, Svarog here with Raijin, right? And you could run Fujin all the way down here in one team, and then maybe you run like an Isis or an Isolde, and Isolde would be perfect, and these defenders are getting hit and healing everyone, and at the same time they're just basically applying these barriers and stalwarts and protections, and they're basically becoming unkillable, right? That's kind of what you're aiming to do, and I actually quite like that. And I actually think out of all of the heroes, he's actually one of the top picks too for myself. I know it might not sound like it, but I think a lot of players maybe coming into Godforge for the very first time, you've never played Raid Shadow Legends, you've never played like Ethereal Restart, right? You've never played any of these games. Well, guess what? If you pick up Svarog, anyone will tell you you're not going to go wrong with him. He's a defender that gives you a shield. He places resistance up 2 and defense up 2, which is fantastic for 3 turns. He can place attack down 2 and blunt down 2, basically, for 2 turns as well. So he's hitting every category that you want, and he's able to put protection on. So what's really good about this, just so you can argue for Svarog, we can technically ultimate, put the 250% defense on everyone, and then trigger the core to put the protection 2 on everyone. So Svarog takes 30% of the damage of his allies, and his shield takes more hits, yes, but his shield is going to be naturally bigger anyway, and he's just going to be able to just take that hit anyway. You get what I'm saying? Like, he's going to be able to tank more because of that. Fantastic. Love it. That is all of the heroes. I know it's been a long video, I do apologize, but hey ho, this is what we do here, and maybe in the future, if you want me guys to do it, let me know. We can do a full tier list. I can write just a more quicker video maybe of all the tiers and maybe why I want to put these heroes in these tiers. Let me know. But my actual plan next is to make a video on combos. Combos. What if you pick this hero, this weapon, what could you do with it? What about with this imprint and that hero? What could you do with it? Because I do think at the end of the day, when it comes to this mini game, this Godforge quests, right, no matter what, I honestly don't think you can go too wrong with it, as long as you either do The safe option, which is pick like an okay support or an okay, DPS or defender like that people are recommending, but your weapon and imprint is like the opposite. So as you can kind of see, I've got a support Apollo, I've got Excalibur for Apollo, kind of like as a supportive thing. But the imprint Unyielding Trickster is really, really good for, as you've guessed it, like a bunch of different stuff, right? I can put this on a bunch of different heroes, including DPS. And if you do that, I think you're not going to go wrong. And I think what many people are overthinking is in Godforge, and especially with all of the heroes that we've seen today, Svarog, Anu, Apollo, Ares, Sizzin, Fujin, Izanami, Lamash 2, Morgan, Raijin, and then obviously coming back to Zarog finally. I honestly think if you pick any of these heroes, just because you like that hero, you're gonna be fine. I reckon within a year of playing Godforge, you're gonna be at the same place as most of players who started in the same kind of position as you, who picked a different hero, right? The only thing that we will say is you will have maybe an easier option in dealing with some content, and that's just because the hero might be a little bit more versatile, and maybe that hero has clearly a good job and they do that job well. So just to finish off the video, just to give you guys a full summary, Anu here, I'll be honest, I'm not too fussed. If you pick him up, but I am not too fussed about this hero. And even for like the newest players in the game and stuff, I wouldn't really recommend a hero like this. It's going to be quite, I think, hard to pull off for the newer players, I'll be real. Apollo though is the opposite. If you pull Apollo, I think you'll be happy with your start, and whoever you get in your summons is whoever you get in your summons. It's kind of the way you're going to go. But just like me, I don't think you'll be actually that disappointed with an Apollo start. Ares is a little bit different. I think Ares is going to be one where I personally would ignore this hero. He's all damage, and he's honestly kind of tailored to PvP, and yes, he does have the ignore shield and barrier, and if he can strong hit, he can remove the shield. But as we saw earlier on, someone else can just straight up remove shields without a requirement, which is much better in my eyes. So Ares is a miss. Sizzin though is good. If you're looking for a DPS option, if you want to pick a DPS and ignore all the content creators like myself, guess what? You can do that. And Sizzin is actually a great option. If you want a DPS, I don't think you would actually be mad with him. Blaze, Acid, and the triple trifecta attack all enemies on his abilities. Why would you not want to go with this, especially with Ramsey's starts, for example, right? Fujin, I actually think Fujin isn't too bad either. I actually think Fujin can be used even without Raijin, and I actually think when you start to see the power of putting Stalwart onto your allies and stopping them from being despaired and frozen, it's going to go a long way. And then he also gives you a nice barrier too, so you're not going to be disappointed that he's able to take tank some damage for your team as well. So I think Fujin, really good option. Izanagi, now this is going to be a hot topic because I think many people might say this. I think Izanagi is going to be an all-star hero, but I don't think he's going to be that hero that the newest players should pick up. I honestly think more experienced players will pick up Izanagi, and if they do, they will figure out the really broken ways of taking his hero to the next level, because I actually do think this is one of those heroes that once you learn and figure out what you're meant to be doing with him and how you're able to really get that divinity going, you're going to get an absolute powerhouse of a hero. I'm calling it now. Izanami though, I'll be honest, I would not go for this hero. Same with Ares. If you had to pick Ares or Izanami, I would go for the Izanami, just because, again, she can remove the shield instead of the barrier and attack all enemies then, and with a chance to place Corrupt. So there's no requirements of strong hit. She just does it, and that's kind of going to be good. I just can imagine for certain bosses that might need shields being stripped out. Even in PvP, if people are stacking loads of shields, well, put an is an army in there, and guess what? Their shields are non-existent anymore. So really good in that perspective, but I think this is a hero that you would rather summon than you would rather start off with, right? Moving into Lamash 2, just like Cizan earlier, I think Cizan, Lamash 2, and the next one that you can see very soon, I think all of them are good DPSs. Simple as, if you have Lamash 2, you'll be happy. You're not going to be disappointed, and you're not going to struggle as hard as you probably are thinking you're going to struggle, like some of these content creators are making out to be, right? Morgan Le Fay, the exact same. She's almost waifu for me. She is an absolute monstrous. And I actually think Morgan Le Fay, maybe out of all of the heroes in these 11, my number one pick out of them all. Because she's just that crazy. And she's just unique playstyle too, I'll be honest. Then Raijin is up there. I think if you pick Raijin, you're gonna be wanting Fusion, and in my opinion, I would rather have Fusion than I would rather have Raijin, just because you can start a game off with a starter DPS like Guan Yu, Ramses, and Shock, and that might actually be just enough with the Fusion. And when you find Raijin through summoning, then you'll be happy, then you'll be like, yes, let's go, let's start actually cranking out this disgusting Jin team, as we're probably gonna name it in here. But that's my opinion. I don't think I'd have him on the hot list compared to the ones I've said. And then finish it off with Zarog. Zarog is one of them, right? I actually think Svarog, if you get Zarog, you'll be happy for a defender just like him. Heimdall, Fusion, Svarog. Like 3 defenders there. I think if you pick up any of these defenders, you'll be happy. You'll have a good time. You'll see what they're all about. And you'll see they're not actually too complicated. And they are pretty damn powerful when you use them in the game. So there you go. I've given you a summary. I've gone through all 11 videos. I do apologize. It's a long video, but hey, I like doing these long videos, especially for Godforge, where I can just kind of give you my opinion, just talk my thoughts and give you, you know, what I think. And let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I will do some more videos very soon, so keep an eye out for them. And if you want any certain videos covered for Godforge, let me know in the comment section down below, because I will be doing some videos in regards to heroes, weapons, and combos, and all of that jazz very, very soon on the channel. So, until then, smash like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next one, stay safe, stay sneaky, peace out.